In the Catechism this week, we're talking about what does God require of us? And the answer is obedience to His revealed will. Now, there are several categories that we can break down Psalm 119 in. Psalm 119 uses the Hebrew alphabet and then takes us through the whole thing, exalting the wonder of the Word of God, the revealed will of God. People all the time have all kinds of questions that they come to me with about the will of God. And what they normally are thinking about is this perfect will of God and this permissive will of God. Now, I have a real problem with that from the standpoint of if this is God's perfect will, then it's up to you to stay in it. But because of our brokenness and sin, the reality is we know that none of us stay in it. So by the end of a week, you're now like the will of God minus 10 to the fifth power. And as you go through your life, you're at the perfect will of God minus 10 to the 1,000th power. That kind of mentality about the will of God will cause you to end up neurotic. Think about it. You are so far removed from God's perfect will in that paradigm. No, God has one sovereign will. God's will happens. And then there is a mystery behind our responsibility, our sin, and our failures. But we need not despair that we are all these many permutations away from God's perfect will. God has a revealed will, and He has a mysterious will. His revealed will in the Word of God tells us what we need to know about what God requires of us. But He also has this mysterious will that we can't understand that somehow includes both His providence and our responsibility. We want to lose ourselves in the majesty of this God that is sovereign and still gives us responsibility. But it's also so easy to focus on the revealed will of God, His Word. And that is to be the concern of our hearts, that we would show love to God by obeying His Word.